I would say in all of my history, which is 25 years, transfer panels have been prevalent. I've worked with folks that were towards the end of their career when I started, and they were very accustomed to transfer panels, I think, throughout their whole career. So the idea of a transfer panel, I think, is so old, no one could really even say when did it show up. If I had to guess, the 50s, maybe. The size and scope and complexity of them was continuing to evolve. The idea of how do we automate this started to show up. There were some early mixed brew valves that I remember I've seen, but what it does allow you to do in a very small package is in the same valve, you could have parts of that valve with very dangerous, very hot, very aggressive cleaning fluids, and then product also passing through that valve at the same time. Then when you pair groups of these mixed brew valves together into what is often referred to as valve clusters, or kind of like transfer panels have a lot of different names, so do valve clusters, valve arrays, valve matrix, valve manifolds, but everybody, for the most part, regardless of which name you use, you get the concept. Well, that allowed you to do the same thing as a transfer panel in a relatively small package with valves that were hooked to a control system and completely automated. So it allowed you to take the operator out of it. You could program it to do the processes you need, and you can now do this, what often is referred to as 24/7. You could run a process until it was time to clean it, and then just clean that process while all the other things around it were still happening. Or maybe if you had a particular product that maybe had a strong flavor and was going to carry over to the next batch that was a different flavor and you needed to clean, there was these scheduling hassles with transfer panels. You had to stop and clean, and maybe you had to stop a whole bunch of other parts of the process. Valve clusters, you could just say, hey, we've run this batch and that tank, it's time to clean, and you could do that without contaminating other tanks, contaminating other lines. It really allowed you to run 100% of the time, and if any individual thing needed to be cleaned, you just stopped and cleaned it. Just that. With transfer panels, it was not uncommon. Maybe factories would have an entire shift dedicated to cleaning. So there was an 8 or 10 hour gap in time when no production was happening. It was usually at night. And today, that just doesn't have to be the case. Generally, you can run a factory 100% of the time and clean in the middle as needed with valve clusters.